Okay, so this is a quick video on some of the tricks and shortcuts that I use in SolidWorks. I've been using them for more years than I'd like to admit. Okay, so firstly, I'm going to just open up a drawing. So here we have just the drawing background, fresh, nothing. So we'll come in here and we'll just start with an extrusion. So now we're in the sketch mode. Now there are a couple of shortcuts here. They're all okay. I'm going to say they're all based on where you're working in SolidWorks. If you're working in a sketch, whether you're working in a drawing or in an assembly, they will be tailored to where you are working. So the first one I will show you is if you push the S button, that'll bring up this little box down here of the most common commands that are used, in this case, in a sketch. So you have your sketch, you have your draw a line, draw a square, draw slots, circles, arcs, corners, fillets, the spline, trim, convert to entities, and offset. So that's there. That's just a matter of pushing the S key on your keyboard, and that'll pull that up, and then you select whatever you want. Okay, we want to draw a circle, so we get here and we draw a circle. Okay, so now if we push an S again, we have measurements up here because we can start measuring because we have something we can measure too. Okay, and that is all with the S key. Now, recently I found something that is really more cooler than the S key because that requires two hands. You got to hit the S with your left hand and move the mouse with your right hand, and I'm too lazy. The less work I have to do, the more gooder. So let's remove all that. We're still in our sketch. Now, if you hold down the right mouse button and move your cursor, the mouse, it brings up this circle of commands. Here you have your square, your fillet, the circle, sketch, drawings. Okay, that automatically, once you cross into it, it will go into that command. So align and trim. Now you'll see here that I've got 8 commands available to me. So let's just do a draw line here. Up, over, down. Okay, and so now we do it again, and we can pull up our dimension key and add our dimensions. Okay, we want this guy to be straight, so we'll click on it. It pulls up this window. We'll make it perpendicular. Okay, we have blue lines, so we want to make that. And as you get used to it, you'll get familiar with where they are, and you can just buzz right through them. So now this wheel here is customizable. So to customize that circle, you come into this bare area here and right mouse and do the customize up here. So this gives you quite a few options. You can select which toolbars are showing up here by default. There's shortcut bars, that one that pops up. You can add to it. Let's say, we want to do ellipses. So we can bring down the ellipses and add it to it, or we can remove it. And there are, as you can see, there's a whole bunch of toolbars, and it all depends on which function you're currently working on in SolidWorks. So the circle is down here in mouse gestures, and here you can set it up right here. You can get up to 12 gestures, and this is the one I use because it gives me the most flexibility, and you can see what's available in the sketch and the parts, assemblies, and drawings. If you want to get used to it, start with a smaller one first with a few commands, and that's what I did. I started with 4, and then I went to 8, and then I'm now up to 12, and it won't let me do more than 12, which is sad. So anyway, so that's how you can change that. Another thing you can do if you like keyboard shortcuts, you can come over here to the keyboard and let's say you want to set up a shortcut to save all. So you just click the buttons you want. Okay, so now I had just set up that a Control-Alt-A will automatically save all the documents that are open. And that is completely customizable. Now, if you come in here and do that on the keyboard and pick something that's already assigned, so let's say Pack and Go, we wanted to do a Control-C, it'll pop up an error saying it's already assigned to something else. Do you want to change it? Obviously, I don't. So, you know, if you, I have some for importing DXFs in from the electronics people into my circuit boards. I have Shift G and Shift H to pull up those commands. Totally customizable by you. I think the biggest problem I've had with it is I've got things set up at my office the way I like to use them. And I almost brought it into this SolidWorks so I know where everything is, but it would make it confusing for the students when they see mine is completely different than everybody else's. So I'm learning the factory defaults. Okay, so let's go ahead and extrude this just so that we have a part. And we'll save it. And we'll just call it a block. Okay, so now you seen the wheel gesture. Yeah, if you just hit the right mouse button and release, it brings up that one. So you want to hit and hold and drag your mouse. So now you can, in the part mode, you can get the various different views, zooms, and whatnot. Okay, so now let's put this into an assembly. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this button up here. It's an assembly icon with an arrow. That'll take this and drop it into a new assembly, or at least open it up so that you can drop it. Now be aware, if you have more than one document open, you get to select which one you want to start first. Now if you hit the little thumbtack there, it'll keep this dialog box open so you can add more than one. On your very first input, if you don't click anywhere inside of here to set the part and you hit the green check mark, it'll automatically default that part to the origin of the assembly. And then you can browse to bring in other parts. Oh, here's one. You guys will love this one. Boom, that's not it. This is the one we want to bring in. And then when you get done, just hit the green arrow and it'll go away. So yeah, I have a better printer at home than I do at my office, so I brought this home to print it. That's the part I need for my office. Yeah, it's kind of funky looking. Okay, so anyway, another shortcut here for assemblies. Let's say you've been working on a whole bunch of different parts, and this is another key too. If you hit the R button, this will bring up a list of all the recent files that you've have opened. And you can scroll through here, and if you're just working on it, let's say, okay, I laid out my backyard in SolidWorks, so I want to reopen it. I hit the R button, R key, and then select that file. It'll automatically open that file for me. I don't have to search through where I saved it and reopen it. This is my backyard. This is a deck. This is a tree, fire pit, house, or at least a portion of the house. So let's say that, for instance, in this assembly, we hit the R button and we decided that, so let's just, I know this one's here, so we can grab and drop, and it'll ask you which configurations you want. And if you hit Control Tab, you can toggle between open documents. You can also come into the home where you can start a new part, an assembly, a new drawing, open existing parts. And this is all from hitting the R key. Now, if you want standard views, if you hit the space bar, that'll bring up this palette, and you can go to all these views here. If you get to a view that you really want, and I've used this for drawings, like this part here is at an angle, so let's bring that to the screen, and we want to save that so we can bring it into a drawing like that. If you hit the S bar and hit this button right here, you can name this as a view. And now if you move this document into a drawing, we'll save it. And this button up here does the same as with the assemblies, only it'll drop it into a drawing sheet. And it gives you here your options. So here's the flat. That's that view that I just created. So that's useful when you're trying to bring in views that aren't standard views into a drawing. In your drawings, if you right mouse and drag, you have your dimensions, center of lines, tables, lines, detailed views, and some sketching, ordinate dimensioning. So the best thing to do is just get in there and play with it and find, okay, let's go back to the assembly to see what the right mouse drag options are. So in here you have, looks like just the standard views. So the one, I know I think I've showed y'all this one before. Come on, rotate. When you're if you're building a feature, I know the book has you go through 15 different steps to close the feature and start it up. So we're just going to draw a square, put a dimension on it. Now, when you're done drawing, the book tells you close this, close that, and then hit that. But once you're finished, just close the sketch over here, and it'll automatically bring up the dialog for the extrusion. Make it the height you want, and hit OK. I mean, that's a quick step. A quick way to remove some of the steps that the book lists. I think right now that's about all I have to offer.